Can you guys hear me okay? If so, welcome back to the Sleuth Intuition channel. I'm your host, Patrick Vallejos. Welcome back. We are broadcasting to the world live from Phoenix, Arizona. And just as I promised, we are keeping you up to date on the Ellen Greenberg case. And things are looking up. Welcome in, She Warrior. Thank you. Jerry, how's it going? Thanks, Jerry. Okay, so the family of Ellen Greenberg reached a settlement agreement with Philadelphia officials to reopen the investigation into the teacher's death more than 14 years after it happened. The agreement came before a civil case set to begin on Monday. The medical examiner who initially investigated the case released new legal verification indicating he believes the ruling of self harm is inaccurate. The judge had also ruled that the medical examiner and a detective would have to testify in the civil trial, which is great. Good to see you, CJK. What are you guys up to? You guys been keeping up with this case? So Ellen Greenberg was found dead in 2011 with 20 stab wounds, originally considered a homicide, and then it was ruled self-harm. Well, now the person who originally considered it a homicide and then switched it to self-harm, and then now recently going back and considering it a homicide. It's the guy that's been there from the beginning. A neuropathologist hired by the family believes she was strangled. That's Dr. Wayne Ross. We're going to hear from him. News Nation interviewed him. Shout out to News Nation. Dr. Wayne Ross, a forensic neuropathologist hired by the family of Ellen Greenberg, believes the teacher's 2011 death was staged to look like self harm. He told News Nation senior national correspondent Brian Enton. He cites a towel placed next to her clean despite her 20 stab wounds as evidence of staging. The case was originally ruled a homicide, then changed to self harm. Greenberg's family has long found her passing suspicious. I think we all do. I know I definitely do. With her father saying he believes she was strangled. So, this is the new narrative. Ellen Greenberg would somebody strangled her to death and then stabbed her after she was already deceased and staged the crime scene. Ross agrees to a reasonable degree of medical certainty she was strangled. Yeah, I would testify in court of I would testify to that in a court of law. The medical examiner who initially investigated the case released new legal verification indicating he believes the ruling of self-harm is inaccurate. Just days ago, the family of Ellen Greenberg reached a settlement agreement with Philadelphia officials to reopen the investigation. So that was the breaking news that we covered. But today we're going to talk a little bit more about Dr. Wayne Ross, what he has to say, and then we'll get into recent words by Josh Shapiro. Remember, he was the attorney general when Ellen Greenberg's case first was opened, and he's the one that kind of helped push the whole self harm narrative. He was the one who was able to get that sealed and make sure that that was done. You know, so he is definitely facing some scrutiny. He was recently, what was he up to? I think he was doing a speech at a childcare presser or a press conference, and he was asked about Ellen's case, and he gave a long answer, and we're going to hear that today as well. What's up, Sensei? J Ray, welcome in. The only one who isn't green. What's that? What do you mean green? Yeah, I'm so glad to finally see some movement on it, Sensei. It's about time. It's just really tough to sit back and watch something so blatantly obvious, right? That coffee's good. Yeah, exactly. That's not what it looks like. Everything about this case is very suspicious. Well, he was the first person to discover her body and, check her to see if there's a pulse. So it would be expected for there to be some blood on him. 15 years after ruling her death self harm, a former Philadelphia medical examiner has changed his opinion and now says Ellen Greenberg was killed. Greenberg, a first grade teacher, was found dead inside her home after she was stabbed 20 times on January 26, 2011. Dr. Marlon Osborne performed her autopsy the next day and initially determined the death to be homicide. But 4 months later, on April 4th, Osborne changed his ruling and listed Greenberg's death as self harm. After further evaluation of the case file and information from the Philadelphia Police Department and neuropathologist, the initial switch from homicide to self harm came after the police publicly challenged Osborne's ruling of homicide. The Associated Press reported. Despite 10 of the stab wounds being to the back of Greenberg's neck. Like, come on. Police said they considered the death a self harm because her apartment door had been locked from the inside, and her boyfriend, who reported finding her, had no defensive wounds. You guys, it's that easy to get away with murder. All you need is a trifecta, just three things that point to your innocence, and you're good to go, as long as there's no solid proof of your guilt. Cell phone data. It shows here Google was tracking him all day. Look, there's his cell phone, nowhere near the crime scene. Innocent. He's cleared. Oh, the door was locked from the inside. There's no way he could have locked it and then broken back in, right? Cleared. So we're going to do a quick overview before we get into the new information. Just for those of you who are not fully up to speed on what's going on with Ellen's case. Oh, I gotcha. Yeah, no worries, J Ray. We got love for you. Don't feel pressured. You don't have to be a member to be part of the crew. CJK says, "Did many figure out a way to do these crimes? The locked door, for example." Yeah, and that would be very easy to accomplish. Like it took no energy whatsoever for him to lock that door with a simple magic trick, with a simple trick. And look at the huge effect it had on him. It pretty much cleared him. So if that's all it takes is some little trick, locking the door or unlocking it from outside, which we know can be done. There's videos all over YouTube that show you how to do it. All right, I'm going to read this here. The descendant's fiance, Samuel Goldberg, a reportedly left the descendant at the apartment at 16:45, so 4:45 to go to the gym. Returned around 5:15, 5:30 and was unable to get into the apartment. He opened the door with his keys, but the door was secure from the inside, right? This is all part of his story. He proceeded to try and contact the descendant via text messages, telephone calls, and emails for approximately an hour before he forced entry into the apartment. Excuse me. An apartment security man was reportedly present during the entry. He immediately discovered her and called 911. Radio time is at 18:33. He was briefly instructed to start CPR until he noticed a knife in her chest and was instructed to stop. PFD Medic 5 responded and pronounced death at 1840. So just before 7 o'clock. What's going on, She Warrior? Anthony France, welcome in. Is this the guy who was on the phone with 911 and said, "Oh, she has a knife sticking out of her chest"? Yep, that's the guy. They asked him, "Are you able to give her CPR?" He said, "Do I have to?" Who says, "Do I have to give my wife CPR?" And definitely if you knew she was already dead, you'd be like, "Really?" It's kind of dumb. I had a little glitch with my camera there. Good to see you, Boston. What's up, Blind Squirrel? Thank you. I appreciate that. If you guys could follow suit, go hit the thumbs up, go share this on your X feed, on your YouTube community page, Facebook. Well, what it sounds like, CJK, she may have been strangled. There may have been a struggle. She was strangled. And then the whole stabbing and all of that was done as part of the staging. Potentially, right? Potentially. Good, J Ray. We love having you. It's been great having you around. Hopefully, you'll stick around. Let's continue on here. Body and vicinity. The location of death is in the kitchen of the descendant's apartment located at the Venice Loft Apartments, 4601 Flat Rock Road, Unit 603, Philadelphia, PA 19127. It is a two-bedroom apartment on the sixth floor of the building, shared by the descendant with her fiance. And there's no like ladders or any way to get up to the back patio. The inside lock to the front door, a common latch, solid bar door guard is broken with the screws on the door loose, obviously forced in when in a locked position. So it's very simple. You wrap the string or the rubber band around the lock, you close the door, you pull it or cut it, pull it, it latches. Now you've successfully latched the door from the outside. It's not impossible, it's actually very easy. And now you break the door in, and it appears like somebody closed the latch. And if there's nobody else in there, she must have done it to herself, right? Throughout the entire apartment, there is no evidence of a struggle. Well, somebody could have cleaned it up. Furniture and items appear in place. Well, could have picked them up. Nothing is obviously missing or disturbed. There are numerous valuables present: money, keys, three laptop computers, one in the kitchen on the island, appears to be Goldberg's, one in the master bedroom suite on the floor, appears to be the descendants as evidenced by wedding material, and one on an additional bedroom desk. Okay, why would somebody thinking about taking their own life be planning their wedding? That doesn't make sense to me. I could be missing something. Maybe you guys can let me know in the chat. I don't know. Seems very strange. Um, appears to be the descendant's work computer, as evidenced by numerous teaching materials. The descendant is a teacher. There is no note found or anything indicative of self harm on the computers or in the rest of the apartment. The only way to exit the apartment with the front doorway locked is through a rear sliding leading to a patio. The patio is 6 stories high. There is snow present with no tracks or footprints, completely undisturbed. The ambient temperature is inside the apartment reads 69 degrees Fahrenheit on the thermostat. The incident occurred during a winter snowstorm. Yeah, so the killer's not going to cut break in and then jump out unless he had a ladder. I mean, I don't know. Is that even going to be able to reach the sixth floor? No, that's it. I might even have a photograph of the outside of the apartments. Let me take a look. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, seems impossible. They're on the top floor here. Okay, investigation report. Prescription medication are recovered from a bedstand located in the master bedroom. Prescriber, Dr. Ellen Berman. Alprazolam, cloenzepam, and zolpidem. A paper booklet is in the descendant's pocketbook that's on a chair at the living room island, resembles a journal of her medications and her state of mind while taking, last dated January 16th. The descendant's cell phone is in the master bedroom. Review of her call and message log reveals last outgoing call was to a number redacted January 26th at 14:33. So 2:33 lasted for 30 seconds. Last missed call was to programmed additional missed calls from the program Sam Goldberg on January 26th between 17:30 and 17:42. Be 5:30 and 5:42. Last outgoing text at 3:47. Last incoming text from Sam Goldberg at 5:30. So if he is responsible, that's when she must have just died at that time. And he probably has this planned out, maybe. You never know when it comes to a psychopath. Look at Scott Peterson. He seemed normal. He seemed, he was a successful guy, good looking. He wasn't your average psycho, kind of like Chris Watts. Hello, open the door. What are you doing? I'm getting pissed. Hello. You better have an excuse. What the fuck? You have no idea. And who's to say he didn't break in the door and commit the murder? You know what I mean? The descendant is on the hardwood kitchen floor located just inside the door entrance. The descendant is found supine with her head and some of her upper body, shoulders resting against the lower half of the white kitchen cabinets. So the neuropathologist is going to kind of take it from here. So we're going to segue from here into, well, actually, a quick video before that.
More than a decade after Ellen Greenberg was found dead in
Let me know if you guys can hear that okay.
Her family says the justice system has finally made a step in the right direction.
It's monumental. For 14 years, we've been dealing with the suicide rate.
Yeah, exactly.
In 2011, the 27-year-old first grade teacher was found dead by her fiance with more than 20 stab wounds. Her death ruled a suicide by a Philadelphia medical examiner at the time. But her parents, Sandy and Josh Greenberg, never believed she took her own life, taking the medical examiner and the
Can you guys hear the video okay?
Lost count of all the amount of monies and efforts and emotions that we've been working at to try to clear our daughter's name.
After 14 years of the Greenbergs fighting and on the brink of the Greenbergs' civil case heading to trial, a reversal. Medical examiner Marlon Osborne, seen here in a deposition for the case, now changing his professional opinion of Ellen's death in a letter filed on Friday and obtained by NBC Philadelphia. Citing new information, including whether Ellen's fiance was witnessed entering the apartment before placing the 911 call. And the findings from a state-hired pathologist seen here in a deposition for the case.
And what's significant here is that there's no hemorrhage.
And in your experience, no hemorrhage can equate to the person having been deceased at the time of the administration of the trauma.
Yeah, I mean, in general, no hemorrhage means no pulse.
If a person has no pulse, they are not going to self-inflict or stab themselves, period.
Now, attorneys for the Greenbergs say the Philadelphia Medical Examiner's Office will reopen and reinvestigate Ellen Greenberg's manner of death.
So hopefully that'll be a
that's kind of the point, CJK.
All the information that we've acquired over the years will be presented, And I don't see any reason why they wouldn't reach the same result that Dr. Osborne gave.
The city of Philadelphia telling NBC News the terms of the settlement include an independent review of the autopsy file and an express waiver of any claims that might be brought as a result of that process. The criminal investigation into Greenberg's death remains inactive but open, according to the Chester County District Attorney. In a statement released last November, they note there is no statute of limitations for criminal homicide in Pennsylvania, and because investigations can take new directions, we are not closing the case. A grieving family now one step closer to closure.
I hope today we made Ellen proud of us because we certainly were.
They've been
very
putting up a
proud
hell of a fight.
as her parents.
Stephen Romo, NBC News.
Yeah, they put up a hell of a fight. Here's an old article. We're not going to read it all, but this kind of gives you an idea of the struggles they've been going through. I mean, look at the headline. Prosecutors deliver bad news to family of woman whose death was ruled self-harm despite suffering 20 stab wounds. Prosecutors in Philadelphia have delivered bad news to the family. Philadelphia medical examiner Marlon Osborne initially ruled her death a homicide, but police considered her death a self-harm and publicly challenged his findings. But now the Chester County District Attorney's Office has announced that it cannot move forward with criminal charges in the case. So they were shot down. They also went to the Supreme Court. They were shot down. And then you had Josh Shapiro, who is now the governor there, was the AG at the time. He shut him down. So finally, things are starting to turn in their favor. Okay, let's go. Let's take a look at Dr. Wayne Ross. He's a forensic neuropathologist, and he was recently interviewed by News Nation. Take a look.
That there was strangulation
Yes,
to medical certainty.
the reason was great medical concern. She was strangled. Yeah, I would testify in the court of law. I've said it in my reports.
Do you think there's any signs
Okay, did you hear what he said? He says he believes that she was strangled.
that there was strangulation
Yes,
to medical certainty?
the reason was great medical concern. She was strangled. Yeah, I would testify in the court of law. I've said it in my reports.
Do you think there's any signs of abuse before the death?
I'm concerned about that. Yes, and the reason I'm concerned about that is the bruises to the wrists, obviously the strangulation.
That's good for
but
you.
there's
Good for you,
extensive
Frank.
bruises to the lower legs. What is that about?
Okay, so he's concerned about bruising to the lower legs. You know, sometimes I've seen cases where abusers, they will abuse their victims in areas where they know won't be visible to the public. You know, places that are covered up a lot. Same goes for people who abuse their children.
Where does she get that? She's not a kickboxer. She's not in karate that I know of. She looks like a typical nice girl, you know, very feminine looking. How'd she get those bruises down there?
And Brian Anton.
That there was strangulation?
Yes.
Okay, so I have two more short videos just like that. So he's saying that she has bruises, appears that she may have been abused in some way prior to the crime.
The scene, first thing I notice when I look at it, and I think synthetically, is, oh my goodness, this scene is staged. How do I know it's staged? Because I see her back up against the cabinets in the kitchen. First thing I notice when I look at it, and I think synthetically, is, oh my goodness, this scene is staged. How do I know it's staged? Because I see her back up against the cabinets in the kitchen. Her arms are down by her side. The left hand is holding onto a towel. There's no blood on the towel. There's no blood on her hand. There's blood to the back of her left hand. To the
Okay, so he's stating that a towel in the hand of Ellen is proof of staging. Does that make sense to you guys? And if you're staging the crime scene, why would you put the towel there? What's the thought process behind the killer to stage the crime scene in such a way? What message is he trying to convey to whoever discovers her body? Like, I don't understand that. But I mean, it makes sense. I just don't, I just can't figure out why the killer would put a towel in her hand to begin with. Just to kind of make it appear like she's doing something natural in the kitchen. Like, hey, she was in there, she had a towel, and then somebody jumped her.
Right are her glasses. Now, obviously, she's not sitting there stabbing herself and then wiping herself with the towel. Why does she have a towel there? And there's no blood on the base of the left hand. She didn't use her left hand, obviously, to stab herself. And there's a towel in there. Why would she have a towel in her hand if she's going to be stabbing herself? And there's no blood in it. Well, she didn't. Somebody else put it there. It's staged. The scene, first thing I noticed when I look at it, and I think,
Yeah, but why? It's kind of weird. Having trouble with the whole towel theory. I mean, it makes sense. There should be blood on it. I just don't see the reasoning why a killer would do that. Like, oh, maybe to say, hey, I didn't kill her in the back room, right? There's no towels in the back room. I'm staging it to make it look like she was killed here. You know, I want you guys looking here in the kitchen because I want it to appear that she was attacked with a knife or even possibly stabbed herself. So maybe by putting the towel in her hand, it kind of blends in with it, kind of attaches her to the kitchen in some way, and just kind of makes you assume like, okay, she was in the kitchen, she was getting ready to clean something, she has a towel. There's similar towels in the kitchen, so therefore she was not murdered in a back room. So that does make a little bit more sense.
suicide, not a homicide, that somehow she stands up or leans over, stabbing myself. Oh, I get to get blood drops down there. Blood drops, get down there. Oh, not my hand, sorry. I used the left hand. Shouldn't have done that. Just the right. Blood drops. And then she falls to the ground. She's on it and everything else. Who turns to the side? Oh, excuse me. Let me stab myself again and drop the blood on the side. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it's weird.
No, of course not. Right? But that's what you're suggesting.
And he hasn't
I mean,
even touched the knife wounds
there's
in the
blood
back of the
drops there
head.
coming straight down to.
Like, I don't even know how you would even do
Well, then
that.
why the heck's her hair in between here? What's that from? Now, what happens is when you get hair like this, sometimes.
Okay, let me go back. So he's also talking about the crime scene and a bunch of hair that was found in between Ellen's legs. I have an explanation for that.
I mean, you're not suggesting it. So there's blood drops there. They're coming straight down to. And there's hair here. I mean, why the heck's her hair in between here? What's that from? Now, what happens is when you get hair like this, sometimes the person is defending themselves and literally the victim actually pulls their hair out. But the other times, the assailant is pulling the hair out.
See, that's ridiculous. Because if you look at the actual wounds here, see, that's the thing that if you're going to be an expert, you have to be honest, right? Intellectually honest. And that is just kind of easy to debunk. Okay, so she had a few wounds. Some of the largest wounds that she suffered were in the back of her head here. So if you're stabbing yourself in the back of your head with a knife, I think it's safe to assume that you might be cutting some hair, right? So for him to say that she's pulling her own hair out or the killer's pulling her hair out, when it's most likely the knife you know, cutting the hair while it's creating those wounds to the back of the head. So I just don't want them making something out of nothing, because in this creep, Josh Shapiro will disregard it and kind of brush it away again. So we need something better than this kind of stuff here. I don't want to see them pancaking Ellen's case with a bunch of nonsense. Like, stick with the hardcore information, the factual information, none of this kind of stuff. We don't need this. We don't need something that can be argued away easily.
Either way, you got hair here in the middle. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, see, it does make sense to me. The question is, did she cut the hair, or did somebody else cut the hair while attacking her? What's up, this account? Christine. There's another YouTuber who literally put one of those locks on their door and then broke it in, and it pretty much ripped the door frame apart. Not have some screws hanging out. Well, it really depends on the quality of your door as well. And it depends on who installed the lock. Oh, I see where you're going with that, Sensei. Just to ensure that they could actually get in, you know? You don't want to lock the door from outside and then realize you can't bust the door in. That's a good point. Okay, who is Josh Shapiro? So Josh Shapiro was the attorney general who was overseeing her case. And he's the one that said, yeah, it looks like the evidence points to self-harm to me. Case closed, right? So if there is a cover-up, he's knee deep in it. Absolutely. So let's see. Here's an article that we can take a look at. Headline: You have to follow the evidence. Governor Shapiro responds after Ellen Greenberg settlement. While giving a speech on childcare, which was just a few days ago, and we're going to watch part of this right now, Governor Josh Shapiro was asked Thursday about a case he had to handle when he was Attorney General, the Ellen Greenberg case. Ellen Greenberg was stabbed 20 times in her Philadelphia apartment in 2011. The medical examiner's office originally ruled her death as a homicide, but changed it to self-harm a few days later. Ellen's parents, Joshua and Sandra Greenberg, a lot of Joshes, have been fighting in court for years to change that ruling. When asked by reporters his response to the recent settlement in the case, along with the fact the Philadelphia medical examiner said Greenberg did not commit self-harm, the governor said whether anything moves forward is up to the Chester County District Attorney's Office. So he is not a fan of the Greenberg family. He had nothing nice to say about them in this interview. It's very upsetting to hear some of the things that he did say. And he doesn't seem very excited to see the case go forward. He actually seems a little bit nervous. This guy, I get 100% snaky vibes from him. Let's start over. The Philadelphia Medical Examiner's Office said it would reopen the death investigation on Friday. The decision came after years of fighting by the parents of Ellen, who has connections to central Pennsylvania. The governor said he is not familiar with any new evidence in the case because he is no longer attorney general. He did say if officials had anything, it should be shared immediately. So He was a little bit ambushed by the question. And I think it may have been from News Nation. So shout out again to News Nation for their coverage on Ellen's case. They've done great work. But let's go and see what Mr. Shapiro had to say when he was asked about Ellen's case.
For children.
Governor, this center seems amazing, by the way. We all love teachers. I have an off-topic question, though.
They did, but let me just offer maybe some broader comments. First off, as a father of four, my heart breaks for the Greenberg family. No parent should ever have to bury a child. And this is a case that I inherited as Attorney General that occurred, if memory serves me, about 6 years prior to me even becoming Attorney General of the Commonwealth. And it was a case that was put on my desk after the city of Philadelphia ruled that Ellen Greenberg died by suicide, not by homicide. That wasn't my decision. That was made years prior by the city of Philadelphia. The case was then sent to the Attorney General's office for investigation. And we looked at every possible angle. There's nothing I wanted more than to give these parents some finality, some answers, some clarity. And we received more evidence, more information during the course of our investigation.
I mean, honestly, what more do you need? I mean, just the fact that she was stabbed in the back of her head, that early on they ruled it as a homicide, and the fact that there was no hemorrhaging. I mean, there's plenty of information. What could his excuse possibly be? He keeps saying, "Oh, well, there's no information, there's no evidence." The crime scene itself is telling the story of somebody attacking her and then staging the crime scene. The evidence is right there in front of him. Why he's choosing to ignore it, I feel, plays into the bigger conspiracy of a cover-up. Honestly, I do. I feel like he's involved in that, potentially.
That sadly didn't show what they wanted it to show, but actually rather pointed to more data, more information that pointed toward a suicide. At some point, the Greenberg family asked that we no longer consider the case. And under the Commonwealth Attorneys Act, I had the authority as Attorney General to
Absolutely,
transfer that
blind
case
squirrel.
to a neighboring
Absolutely.
district attorney. And I did. We transferred it to the Chester County District Attorney, if memory serves me. They looked at it for a couple of years and they found the same determination as well. There was no evidence there that supported a homicide. There was no evidence there that supported any sort of criminal charges against anyone else. And they closed the case. So over the span of whatever it's been, over 10 years, over a decade, you've had 3 or 4 different law enforcement agencies look at it and come to that same conclusion. The city of Philadelphia were the ones that began this process when they determined the cause of death. That's on them to explain why they determined that. That had nothing to do with the Attorney General's office or any.
Right? It was them. It wasn't us. Go ask them why they called it, self-harm and not. It wasn't me.
My heart really does break for the Greenberg family. And I know that, some, maybe feel that lashing out at me in the media is helpful to their cause.
See, he's just talking about himself like, oh, and they were mean to me. They were mean to me in the media. Well, they should be mean to you. You're the one that's over here fighting them, saying that there's absolutely no evidence when it's so abundantly clear. It's so apparent. It's ridiculous. So to sit here and listen to this guy, he must be complicit in whatever is going on as far as a cover up. I mean, I'm getting sleazy politician payoff vibes from this guy, 100%.
I'm not going to stand in judgment of them. These are parents who are grieving and anguished. And again, I think no parent should have to bury a child. Lashing out isn't going to change the evidence here. And I'm hopeful that as this process goes forward, if any new information comes to bear, that it immediately be shared with the Chester County District Attorney and allow the DA there to,
And him, first of all, he's kind of dismissing that all of the pathologists and the coroner and everybody that was involved in making these decisions are now coming back around saying that they think that it's suspicious and it looks more like homicide than self-harm. Why is he just kind of sweeping that to the side?
conduct an investigation of that new material should anything come forward.
Do you think the medical examiner coming forward now, though, and saying he no longer believes it's a suicide is enough to push this forward? I mean, that's a big change.
Yeah, I think that's a question
Right
for
here.
the DA in Chester County. It has to have some evidence with it, not just someone feeling different. But certainly if there's some evidence that this medical examiner has uncovered, I'm not familiar with that. I'm no longer the AG. If they have new evidence, new information, they should share that immediately. One of the things that was particularly frustrating to me when I was Attorney General is someone would have a press conference, claim to have new information. We would invite them into the AG's office, and then they actually didn't have anything that was particularly new, and they used the media to keep the issue alive. I understand.
Kind of like what you do as a politician.
I understand why they would want to find answers. I wanted nothing more than to be able to give them the answers that they wanted. But when you're in the role of being a prosecutor, you have to follow the evidence. And we never saw any evidence to suggest anything different. And then we shared the case with another district attorney, and they found the same.
Man, that's got to be frustrating to listen to this guy. But I have a feeling they're going to put this right back in his face. He's going to eat those words. All right, guys, let me know what you think about the case. Didn't have a whole lot to go over with you guys. Just wanted to keep you up to date on this case. I promised that we would do that. I meant to go over that yesterday, but you guys know I had some bad news. But it is what it is. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. We'll catch up on the chat, and then we'll end the stream. And I may or may not have something lined up for you guys in about an hour or so. What's going on, Mustang? Bad actors, what up? Hope you're having a good day. Be safe, have fun. That sounds yummy. Thanks, Sensei. I like it. No need for a green screen. I got this one over here, but that's just for video editing purposes when we get to it. Big shout out to those of you who have recently sent me a donation to my Zelle, which is very rare. So thank you. You know who you are. Every little bit helps. So those of you who continue donating to the Cash App, to the Venmo, the Zelle, sending super stickers and super chats, watching my videos, sharing them, becoming members, and just being part of the overall community that we're trying to create here. Big shout out to you. Moderators, you guys do a lot of the legwork. So thank you for keeping everything chill. And I should be seeing you guys a little bit later tonight. I feel like having a discussion about Abby and Libby's case, some things I want to go over with you guys. So if I have time, we will be diving into the Delphi murders a little bit later. So until then, please leave me a comment. If you guys need to get a hold of me for whatever reason, you can always email me sleuthintuition@gmail.com. If you guys want to go ahead and support me in other ways, I do have merch. If you guys want to purchase merch, free shipping, mainly hoodies, t-shirts, couple hats, things like that. Go to sleuthintuition.com. You can do that there. So thank you again. Much love. Peace out to the Sleuth crew, and I'll see you guys again real soon. Peace.